Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Bridezilla, and it's by user Infamous Professor, a prophetic fortune cookie. Well, if that wasn't the most ominous damned thing I'd ever read on a fortune cookie. Sure, it was probably supposed to be read as some sort of live life to the fullest, fear of missing out thing, but it really didn't come across that way. Or maybe it was the first time in my life I got a fortune cookie that was actually magic. Or hell, perhaps the ancient little Thai lady who ran the restaurant could sniff out the crazy Bridezilla sitting next to me at the table, who for another 2 weeks I would still be convinced was my best friend from childhood, Belinda. That had been on my first and incidentally last day doing official maid of honor duties. We had just come from buying the wedding dress. The bride-to-be was efficient. She knew what she wanted, and she got it. Minimal input was required from us three onlookers. We were there to coo and ah at her choices and very little else. There was a beautiful moment when her future mother-in-law offered her the family heirloom pearl necklace to try on with her dress. All was well, though there had been a sticking point at the register. You see, Belinda had requested to only be shown dresses within the $1,000 range, but unfortunately had fallen in love with a dress that was $300 out of her budget. So what did she do? She hemmed and hawed and fretted about the price as the sales lady was carrying the dress up to the register. Belinda went on and on about how much she liked it and how she deserved to treat herself, but oh dear, it was just so pricey. If only it could have been a little cheaper. Now looking back on it, I realized I have seen this exact same tactic used by children who want something but know they'll be refused if they ask directly for it. The amount of unspoken pressure to chip in was deeply unsettling. I, as someone who is actively hemorrhaging money while trying to accomplish a lifelong dream of becoming a professional writer, kept my lips zipped tight. My knee-jerk reaction was to offer her the money to help her out. I just literally didn't have the money. The other bridesmaid didn't have the convenient excuse of being absolutely in the red broke and Venmo'd the bride the full $300 as an early wedding gift right at the register, which Belinda then took, turned to the salesgirl who helped her try on dresses for all of about 45 minutes and gave her the full $300 as a tip. Now, I've looked into this. Despite the tip line being right there, it's automatically included in most places, it is not expected for you to tip your salesperson. It certainly isn't expected that you tip freaking 20% like you just bought a $40 meal instead of a $1,500 dress. The way Belinda had been going on about it, it seemed like she was going to be cutting into her flower budget or something else wedding related to pay for the extra cost of this dress. But nope. She took her friend's hard-earned money and straight up gave it away. So that was kind of awkward, but we all went out to a great Thai restaurant afterwards at the bride's insistence since I had driven halfway across the state for this. I wound up paying for everyone because the bride felt she didn't have to pay since it was her wedding dress shopping day. Alright, and the other bridesmaid had already given a ton of money. Let's fast forward 2 weeks. My partner just popped the question, yay, I'm engaged. I'm happily making the obligatory phone calls before I do the announcements on social media. When I speak to Belinda, it's a little bit tense on the phone. She asked the right questions, but her tone was off. Were you expecting it? No, not at all. I thought maybe, but I didn't want to ruin a good date with unfulfilled expectations. I mean, had you guys talked about getting married at all? Oh yeah, tons. We've even got a financial planner about 6 months ago. She goes quiet for a second, and then that's the last we talk about my engagement. I would later find out that dear old Belinda was under the impression that I pressured my fiancé to propose. The rest of the conversation got dominated by Belinda describing in detail how much she hated her future mother-in-law. See, future mother-in-law was forking over a few grand for a very fancy venue, but her requirement for this money was to include her invite list, and future mother-in-law had a lot of people to invite. No invites, no venue. Belinda wanted the venue, but not the guests. I wasn't sure how to help with that. She said that future mother-in-law wasn't paying for all of it, so she didn't get a say. Not my job to solve that, since I'm of the school of thought, if money comes with conditions you don't want, then don't take the money. Belinda seemed unhappy with that solution, so I lent a sympathetic ear instead, still twirling my new rock on my finger, while she complained for the next 30 minutes. The next day, after doing preliminary looks at venues and my own slap hood planning, my fiancé and I are looking at wedding dates. The month that seems most convenient to us, which also happens to be the most popular month to get married, is in the same month childhood bestie Belinda wants to get married. 3 guesses which month it is, and the first 2 don't count. So I shoot her a quick text to see what her pre-wedding plans are, in case me having my wedding at the time might cause a scheduling conflict. I am planning for the beginning of the month, so there will still be minimum a full fortnight before Belinda's wedding where I can give her my full attention. Wrong move. Belinda freaks out. Her exact response is, "Well, we spent 30 minutes yesterday talking about how my mother-in-law is trying to steal my thunder, so now I'm in the position of either having my thunder stolen, not only but her, but also my maid of honor, or being the a-hole who tells you that you can't get married when you want to." Now, this line confused me, because at no point did I ever give Belinda any indication she had final say on my wedding date. I never even gave this girl any indication she was going to be in my bridal party. Plus, we have 0 overlap in friend groups. 0. She would not see a single person at my wedding who would also attend hers. How was I going to steal her thunder? Your guess is as good as mine. After a few angry messages from her saying that she had asked even when a marathon was going to be run so her wedding didn't interfere with it, okay, was she worried the marathon would fall on my wedding and she wouldn't be able to make it? Followed with the line of, "It's not like it's just a party." I mean, technically it is. It's a big fancy party with lots of customs and a huge bill associated with it, but it is just a party. She stops messaging. I tried to call her, but she didn't pick up. I sent a few more messages telling her this is why I asked and to please calm down, but Belinda was employing one of her favorite resolution tactics, the silent treatment. Whenever Belinda gives someone the silent treatment, she busies the time she spends not talking her problems with the person by telling anyone within earshot how she can't deal with them and how she's setting boundaries. I decided to give her a break for a few days before I sent her a much longer message. This message was way more involved than my quick text, whose wording I had identified as the crux of my mistake. The message told her how happy I was for her and her fiancé, how honored I was to stand up there with them, and that I was sorry for how my text was insensitively worded. I then went on to lay out that I had a huge list of factors which I was taking into account and had just been asking so that my wedding planning wasn't going to interrupt hers if possible. Belinda accepts my apology and tells me that I needed to drive the 2 hours to come see her to discuss things. Well, that weekend, through a series of complicating factors, I am unexpectedly unable to attend our meeting. In fact, I get liver failure, which persists on and off throughout the month. I don't know if you guys have had liver failure before, but the onset was sudden, painful, and it effing sucked. Calling a sulking bride to arrange a time for me to go out of my way to calm her ass down so she could recognize she didn't own 1/3 of the summer was not on my list of priorities. Hell, after the first hit of Deload did, it wasn't even on my mind. Belinda never bothered to respond when I sent her an apology message from my hospital bed the next day. In fact, after that one, she left all my messages on unread for weeks while posting daily to prove that she was ignoring me. A month later, she finally did open them, and instead of being sorry and worried that I had spent a month in and out of the hospital, what does dear old Belinda do? She vague posts on Instagram like a damned high schooler talking about setting boundaries. Ah, that old song and dance again. And the betrayal of people she thought could count on the most. So at this stage, I'm done. In conclusion, some morals I've learned from this ordeal for my own wedding. 1. Setting boundaries can be healthy, e.g., these are boundaries for me and what I will accept for myself and others, versus toxic, e.g., I am setting this to control you and if you break it, I will punish you. 2. To quote the amazing Cynthia Nixon, you only get 1 day for your wedding-related self-absorbed BS. The rest of the time, the world does not care. And most importantly, 3. Despite whatever anyone else may tell you, despite how much money is being thrown, despite how long you've been dreaming about it and how stressed you are over it, at the end of the day, it's just a party. Good luck to all you actively planning a wedding and to all dealing with your own Bridezilla. Additional information from OP's comments. The only update I can provide so far is that my fiancé and I have switched gears and are now planning a wedding trip instead, in a totally different month, making this entire thing even more utterly pointless. It sounds wonderful and much more memorable and less stressful. This whole tantrum Belinda is throwing is tough for me, especially after a 25-year friendship and since I'm still kind of bewildered about the whole thing. And yeah, after a month of the silent treatment for this nonsense, I called time a death on this friendship. I don't have enough time in my life to devote to this weird ego trip of hers. Let's see if she can and wants to rebuild the bridge she decided to torch. I think having liver failure really put it in perspective for me just how unimportant her wedding was to me at that stage, which then made me realize no one else will care about my wedding as much as I do, so why stress myself over centerpieces? Wow, Belinda sounds like a nightmare. Now, I'm not gonna give any commentary because OP didn't ask for any, so we're just gonna move on straight to an update that OP has been kind enough to share with us. So, as much as I wanted to post an update, nothing especially wild had happened for the last 9 months, until last week. As of an Instagram post by the ex-Bridezilla herself, Belinda is no longer engaged. In fact, it seems like Belinda has torpedoed her life in such a spectacular fashion that I now strongly suspect she either has a brain tumor or an undiagnosed cluster B personality disorder. Frankly, my money is on the personality disorder. A few days ago, I received a text from my fiancé asking, "Have you seen Belinda's latest Instagram post?" I hadn't, namely because life will throw us drama in the form of illness, financial instability, and death. I certainly don't need drama coming from a self-victimizing Bridezilla. So I had unfriended her shortly after she axed our friendship last year. Her weird vague posts were too annoying, but I'm a sucker for truly juicy gossip, and this was juicy. Belinda had posted a series of bizarre, pouty, semi-nude selfies of herself slathered in makeup, along with a wall of text so long she needed to continue the rest of it in the comments. To summarize her post, she'd somehow lost her relationship, her job, and her house. Parsing through her very editorialized version of the events, and with some hot tea spilled by one of our old mutual friends from high school, I managed to piece together what actually went down. Side note about this friend from high school, whom I'll call Lola. Lola and I haven't really kept up much, but we had been Facebook friends for ages. Last June, I received a weird email from Lola maiden name asking why I wasn't Belinda's maid of honor anymore. 2 issues with this email. 1, Lola goes by Lola married name now, and 2, though Lola and I are still Facebook friends and do message occasionally, she does not nor ever has had my email. These 2 things tipped me off it probably wasn't Lola actually messaging me. Real smooth, Belinda. Nothing really came off that bit of weirdness since I didn't engage. Back to the current story. Here's the rub about Belinda's losses, starting with house loss. When we last left Belinda, she was a proud homeowner with her fiancé and had an almost indescribable hatred of her future mother-in-law. The reason for this hatred? The woman was giving her $25,000 for the wedding and wanted input on the guest list in return. That apparently was unacceptable to Belinda. Anyway, a few short months after their engagement, and several before the incidents in the first post, Belinda and her fiancé Jake became homeowners. The version Belinda had told me was that she had worked her ass off to afford the down payment on her home. So how was Belinda homeless, yet also broke? Shouldn't she at least have been bought out of the house? Welp. Turns out that $25,000 wasn't future mother-in-law's only gift to the couple. Her future mother-in-law bought them the house. However, future mother-in-law wisely kept the deed in her name with the promise to sign it over to the couple as a wedding present. You know, once they got married. Of course, as we know, that didn't wind up happening. So once the engagement ended, so too did Belinda's future claim on the house. Frankly, I'm surprised I actually believed Belinda had the capacity to save up for a down payment or to qualify for a mortgage. It just didn't track with what I knew about her, namely that she had a shopping addiction to put Carrie Bradshaw, Tom Haverford, and Cher Horowitz to shame. In fact, it was this love of shopping combined with her job loss that led to the end of her engagement. So let's discuss the other thing that led to the demise of the Bridezilla's engagement: job loss. Belinda claimed she quit her job because it wasn't fulfilling her. What she apparently left out was that she had quit in a spectacularly embarrassing fashion. Think screaming expletives down the hallway in front of both staff and clients, which incidentally meant no other employer in her industry wanted to touch her. She had to swap fields again, and again her Instagram post included this tidbit. Belinda even briefly went back to stripping. Bit of backstory. When Belinda first was a stripper, she was a hot, rave-going, pill-popping 22-year-old working at a high-end club. Now, a decade later, I'm wondering what type of club she found her mid-30s self working in, but I digress. Thankfully, the stripping didn't last for long. The job loss portion of the post did end on a hopeful note that she found a nice little job for herself that she likes. And despite her other insanity, I do hope her new job leads to a career that makes her happy and fulfilled. According to Lola though, Belinda didn't land this job until after her engagement ended. This brings me to her third loss, the relationship. So, Belinda claims the engagement ended because Jake's insecurities caused him to treat her poorly and she refused to be controlled. Reading between the lines, I'd say her fiancé from a wealthy and conservative family wasn't thrilled that his previously career-focused fiancé had started stripping naked in front of other men for money. But that's just speculation on my part. From what Lola told me, Jake really couldn't stand how cruel and abusive Belinda had become towards his mother. If the vitriol Belinda had been spewing last year was any indication, Belinda had a lot of hate to spare for that woman. The straw that finally broke the camel's back was when he found out she had pawned his mother's heirloom pearl necklace. You know the one. She had been gifted it in what I thought was a touching moment of bonding while wedding dress shopping. Did she pawn it for something reasonable like rent money or a car payment? Nope, she pawned it for designer shoes. So that's what ended up destroying the relationship, a pair of effing Balenciagas. Oh, I guess her post also details a fourth loss, her friends. She says she had to axe most of her friends after all this. According to Belinda, she thought she'd be able to lean on them during the breakup, but apparently they didn't show up for her. Now, call me suspicious, but I'm pretty sure she had insane expectations that no one could healthily live up to. She does have a history of expecting friends to put their entire lives on hold to stroke her ego. No idea where I could have possibly gotten this impression from. Anyway, so ends the saga of Belinda's engagement to Jake. Godspeed, Jake. You didn't dodge a bullet, you dodged an effing train. Well, nothing to comment. OP said it all. She torpedoed her life in spectacular fashion. Thank you so much for sharing, OP, and all the best in your upcoming wedding. Now, let's finish this video off with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user DumpsterFire15. Don't like it? Leave. This happened today. My husband and I have been car shopping as I was in an auto accident at the beginning of the summer. Our car was totaled in the accident and it has been a long process. We finally decided on the automobile we wanted, completed our paperwork, and had our financing all worked out. All we needed to do was sign all the paperwork and drive away. The dealership is 90 minutes from our house, so we took the kids out of school early and my husband took off work after lunch. We wanted to ensure we were home in time to keep our typical school night schedule going. We get to the dealership at our agreed upon time, did one more test drive and were ready to sign everything. Then the games started. All of a sudden the finance office wasn't ready for us. Then after an almost 2-hour wait, they were ready. The finance person started by trying to upsell us on all the add-ons dealers try to sell you. We told her we didn't want anything extra, we just wanted to look at the numbers, read the paperwork, sign it all and head out. Due to our wait, we had a limited amount of time to get this done and still be able to get home in time for the kids' bedtime routine. The first thing she does is pull out a different set of numbers than we were originally given and agreed to. All of a sudden, there is a dealership fee for selling us a car at this time of year, nearly $1,000 for this nonsense. Then, she states that if we don't like the fee, we could leave, as they have people begging to buy cars from them. So, my husband and I stood to leave. She then tells us we can't leave, as she has already printed the forms. I laughed at her and told her to go out and get one of those beggars to buy it. So far, the finance person is called twice and the salesperson is called 4 times. I guess they weren't expecting someone to get that far and then walk away. Ah, this was beautiful, OP. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.